All right, so while I've got a fussy infant on my shoulder, which I do every single day till about 2:30 p.m. Okay, so anytime you speak to me before about 2:30 in the afternoon, I probably have an infant sleeping on my shoulder. So I deal with it every day. You can deal with it for a few seconds. Let's talk about the GT-S axle. It is, in fact, thicker in the place where I want it to be thicker, which is the O-ring groove. Whether or not that's going to make a substantial enough difference to not buy a rotating carrier option, and again, you have the Float Life's float blocks and you have the Mob Shop's clock blocks that you can buy. Both of them work. The only difference between them is going to be, I'll bet you that the float blocks work with the cold ones and the W rails the best. And then the clock blocks by Mob Shop will work to move any GTR over. So they're going to be the best for GTR conversions. And then they have a little bit more cooling to those fins that I've seen. So those are going to be the big differences. If you got a GTS, I'm going to say this also. The big thing that I haven't really covered is how much more are the parts going to be since the board is $1,000 more base. You know, we're getting basically the same motor from what we can tell. And is that now going to be a $700 motor? When we buy a battery pack that has 3 less cells in it, is that going to be a, $200 or $300 more battery pack? Like, I have questions about the long-term viability of ownership of the GTS. But my initial thought from that night of disassembling was correct, which is the O-ring groove for the GTS has changed. So somebody there saw it. And now we are dealing with an O-ring groove that's a little bit more commensurate with what the XR one was. The other thing that we're dealing with is where the carrier grabs on the GT versus the XR. You can see that there's clearly a few more millimeters where the XR is going to fit over the cap end of that axle versus the GT that kind of just sits there in that notch. So we've got a bunch of variables at factor here. The discovery in the part where I figured out that the O-ring groove was thicker, that's still significant and it still plays. But like I said in the video, you have to wait for a little bit more videos for more information to come out. So keep watching as I put more data out. I'm going to put a data dump out this afternoon, I think probably around 4 or 5 p.m. whenever I get done with the day. And, y'all can decide for yourselves. And then hopefully we'll get to put it through a couple of models and decide how much extra strength the GTS axle has versus the GT with like 0.2 of a millimeter more than the other one. So that's pretty much it. And I hope you have a great day.